Hi everybody, Diana here at Heartfelt Creative. How are you today? Hope everyone's having a great day. Today in Good Gadgets, it's this week's episode of Good Gadgets. Excuse me, my nose is itching. I wanted to talk to you about a couple of products that we use kind of for stabilization. I'll put it that way. You'll recognize some of these products, I think, when you see them, because you might have used some of them or one of them. The other one might be something that's new to you, but I'll tell you, since I've started using it, I've really been able to stop the whole fabric sliding around scenario. So let's start with the first one. As we all know as quilters, there's lots of different ways that you can baste your quilt together. There is the good, hang on, let me grab them. There's the good old-fashioned way of using quilting safety pins. You know, I've been using this method forever. Big, large safety pins. Now you can get some that are a little bit curved to help you get it in your fabric and all. Fine, but these big ones, they're really good because they're easy to open and close. You can see them, place them like my rule of thumb is thumb and pinky apart. That's how I baste with these pins. And I love them. And if I'm doing a really big quilt, like a double-sized bed quilt or bigger, I usually use my quilting safety pins. And there's no brand out there that I recommend over another brand. I couldn't even tell you what brand these are because I've had them for so long. I've probably had these particular ones for 30 years, maybe. I don't know, something like that. But especially when I'm using making smaller projects, a twin size bed quilt, all the way down to placemats and table runners, baby quilts, that sort of thing. I really like to spray baste. Now, I know there are going to be people out there that go, oh, spray baste, no. It's okay. It really is okay. I've been quilting for so long that when I started quilting, this was the only thing you basted with because none of these other products were available. Spray basting is okay. These glues, adhesives, are made to be safe on fabrics. They're kind of what we call archivally safe, meaning they're not going to yellow your fabric out over time. They're not going to ruin your quilt. They're made specifically for this reason. I'll be honest with you, it took me a little bit of time to get used to using them because I was gave me a little bit of agita in here that it was going to mess up my quilt. I've never had one get messed up yet. And once you wash them, you're washing away all of that because they're a temporary adhesive. Now, I wouldn't spray baste my quilts with a permanent adhesive. Permanent adhesive usually means non-archivally safe in what I've researched and read about over time, because they have to use stronger and different chemicals to get them to stick permanently. So I wouldn't spray baste with a permanent adhesive, but I'll spray baste with one of these two temporary ones all day long on my smaller projects. Like I said, up to my twin size quilt. There's no reason you can't use these for a queen or a double sized or king size quilt. I just don't. I like to get a little more stability in my basting with those, and then I go back to my pins. But let me show you a couple of these. The first one I'm going to show you, this brand is super popular as a temporary basting spray, but the brand name, you're going to know it from templates and pre-printed batting, all kinds of other products. It's really a well-known product in the quilting, amongst quilters, and that's June Tailor's Quilt Basting Spray. This is a really good product. I consider this to be more of a lightweight product. It's temporary, works great, but I would only probably use this, or I only use this on smaller projects. I don't use this on anything that I consider blanket level, not even baby quilt level. As far as I can tell, and I've been using this for about 6 years now, the temporary adhesive part is wonderful. It's temporary. I just don't find necessarily that it holds long enough for me to get my whole quilt done. But for smaller pieces, smaller wall hangings, like 36 yard by yard, 36 by 36, table runners, placemats, small, tiny wall hangings that you hang on little decorative things, all of that, June Tailor quilt basting spray works perfectly. Now, if you've already used this product and you've used it on bigger quilts and you like it, that's fine. There is no reason you couldn't use this on a king size quilt when you're basting it. It's just my preference not to. I just consider it a little lightweight for that. But that's, like I said, that's just me. So let's just say this piece of batting and this square of fabric are my quilt sandwich. I don't have anything on the back yet because I'm using that to show you the other product. But let's just say this is my quilt sandwich. So I always spray, whoops, I got two pieces of fabric there. That would have looked hilarious when that fell apart. So I don't spray on the back of my quilt fabric. I spray onto my batting fabric. Want to know why? Because as we can all know, when we feel our batting, it's a little, not rough, but it's a little fuzzy. I guess that's the best way to say it. It's a little bit fuzzy. And the glue tends to get tackier, I find, and hold better when you spray on fuzzy rather than when you spray on super smooth, which is the fabric on your quilt. So I hope that makes sense. There are directions, very specific directions. You should follow them always to get what they consider your best results. All right, so all I do is I always mark on my quilt. Let me flip the camera over. I'm going to show you this, just like this was full on quilt. There we go. So what I do is I've made my quilt sandwich, let's say, and we'll pretend that there's a backing fabric on there. And I usually get my heat erasable pen and I make a little mark at the edge of my four corners of my piece. Accuracy is not important, really. I just kind of want to know where my general edges are. So when I take that off to spray, I know not to, so let's bring this up here. It's hard to see. See the little mark right there? I know not to spray out here or out here or out here or out here, because it's kind of a worthless, and then, you know, you get tacky on your fingers and stuff. So what I do, let me bring the camera back over. So I know where I want to spray on here. So what I do is I shake my can. I always shake. I'm not sure that Steven says you're supposed to shake. Let me see. Shake can before using. So I probably shake because I read to shake, but I shake a little bit. And then I usually go into my bathroom, into the tub, low by the low by the drain. And I hold my can back because it says like 8 to 12 inches, hold 12 inches from, and I give it a quick little shh, shh, shh in spaces. I don't hold down and let it spray all over and get a cloud of tackiness everywhere. You could spray inside a cardboard box. You could build a little, you know, our board pieces, foam core board. You could build like a little piece to kind of surround an area where you could spray. You could go outside and spray. So because I'm not worried about this getting everywhere, what I would do is I'd be 12 inches away. Let's see if I can kind of get that so you can see it there. And I spray a little bit. And with the June Tailor, you can kind of see it. It's a little bit white. You can kind of see it. So then I just take my quilt top, put it back on, hold it on. Whoops. There it is, all basted on there. It's not going anywhere. During the time it takes me to quilt a small piece, that's not going anywhere. What I do, let me flip my camera back over and I'll show you here under the camera. What I do when, there, I think you can see that better with that lighting. So what I do when I'm doing a quilt is, instead of like this, I had it all the way off. You can tell, I can just peel it off. So what I do, and I sprayed and I stuck this down, but what I normally do is I have my quilt on here. before I spray, I pull it back halfway and I give my spray right there. And then I bring it up, press it on. And then I roll up my back half and I spray, lay it down, and then not going anywhere. It's not coming off unless I pull it off. But you can see I've pulled it on and off a couple times now and it's still sticking fine. Like I said, this is going to last perfectly long enough for you to get your quilting done. So let me bring this back over. So that's why, you know, especially for small pieces, if I were doing a small like placemat or whatever, I don't know, I find these end up being more bulky than I want to deal with. So spray works great. But there is a spray that I love to use for my larger projects. Sometimes I grab it for any project, either one of these, any project you want. But I tend to use this for my larger ones, and that's the Odif 505 temporary adhesive. I bet a lot of you have heard this. I bet a lot of you have heard of both of these, but in case you haven't, now you have. So I love this temporary adhesive. So basically I do the same thing. I give it a shake. I've marked, you know, my quilt where I want to do it. And I give myself a little spray. And again, you can kind of see it. I know you can't on here, but it's a little bit white. You can't, you know, it's on the back of a white batting. So I'm gonna put my thing in there, and this is just really on there now. Now I know you're saying, well, the other one looks like it's on the same way. It does, and it kind of is. I mean, right, it's gonna work on either side, but I wanna show you something. Let's talk UFOs sometime, okay? Unfinished objects. We all have them as quilters. I will be honest with you, until COVID, I didn't have unfinished objects. I finished what I started. But during COVID, I started making so many things. I started doing videos and making samples that I have a whole box of unfinished objects now. I've got to get them finished. So I want to show you this. This is a quilt. This is not embroidered. This was all sewn and appliqued on my sewing machine. I did this 5 years ago. It is a Kimberbell quilt. Let's see, that's probably about as much of it as you're going to see in the camera. And it's got the backing. It's got my batting, and there's my quilt top, and there's a few more embellishments to go on there when I'm done. I was all ready to quilt this about 1.5 years ago, and guess what happened? COVID happened. And I set it aside because we were trying to figure out, you know, what do you do? Where do you go? Masks, no masks. And you all know that I started making masks. I made over 7,000 masks during that year and gave them all away. And I'm so happy that I did. And I hope that they helped keep people safe. But that's beside the point. The point is that I used 505 spray on this over 1.5 years ago. And this quilt is still completely sprayed together. It has not gone anywhere. I could still go right now if I had the moment to do it over to my sewing machine, and I could put this under that needle and I could start quilting. It's perfectly basted and ready to go. So that's why I like 505, because sometimes I have to walk away from a quilting project to go work on another project, or I start a quilting project thinking I've got all weekend to do this. And then Dave knocks on my studio door and he says, hey, honey, you want to go for a ride in the country? Hey, honey, you want to go for a hike? And when my husband says, hey, honey, do you want to go do something with me? I say yes. After 40 years, there's nothing better than going and doing something with my husband on an afternoon on the weekend. But then that takes my quilting time, but that's okay. That quilt's not going anywhere. Time with my husband's more important. So I just, you know, so it'll sit there then and it doesn't get done, but I don't have to worry about it because I know that Odif 505 spray, even though it's temporary, it's going to keep that quilt together until I am ready to do my quilting. So Odif 505 spray, 505, June Tailor quilt basting spray, both wonderful projects. I highly recommend you give them a try. you'll like basting your quilts a lot more. I know a lot of people say the reason they don't start their quilting is because they know they have to do the basting, and they think basting, oh, I either have to sew around the edges or I have to do all the pins. Spray, there you go. Now, there's another product that I want to show you today. It is also by the Odif company. It's called Grippy. Have you seen this? I love the name, Grippy. It's Grippy non-slip coating. What in the world would you use something like that in quilting for, right? I want to show you templates, rulers. Let's flip the camera. See this? Slides everywhere. Let's put it on my fabric. Beautiful Tula fabric. Oh, I love this one. I love this fabric in all the colorways. I love this one. So I've got my ruler on here. Oh, look. It goes everywhere. Let's take my half hexy template. This is one of my favorite half hexy templates. So my fabric is scooting on this slip mat, but my template's not going anywhere. Look at that. You know why? Because I have sprayed the back of it. Can you see that very light frosting? I have sprayed it with one quick spray and let it dry for about 10 or 15 minutes. It says 1 minute, but I let it dry like 10, 15, 20 minutes. I've sprayed it with Grippy. It's not going anywhere. This one coat of Grippy has now been on here for several months. There is a product that they make called Odif, I think it's DK5 cleaner, and it's listed on the back, that will take the Grippy off of here. If you ever want to reapply Grippy, from what I understand from someone that introduced me to this, you should take your old coating off and clean your template or your ruler and then reapply it. So Grippy. Now, let me show you this. I talked, was it last week we talked about, or the week, a little over a week? I got a little heavy-handed right there, about square up rulers. If you notice, the last time I showed you this, you couldn't see any of these markings because it was so clear you could see right through, and you can still see through, but now you can see my lines. You know why? Because today I sprayed this puppy down with Grippy. I feel like this needs a commercial with like a really cheery woman with a little flip hairdo and big, beautiful smile and bright, cheery clothes saying, use Grippy. Don't you? I just love that name. Sorry, guys, I just love it. So I put Grippy on here. Now, I did the one coat, but I honestly got a little heavy-handed right there. It's not going to matter. I can still see through it. It just, you can tell. This, the way I have it over here, is coated a little bit better, but let me show you. Here's my half square triangle. I want to square up to 2.5 inches before I do my open and press. I line up my template on my stitched line. Open, look. So this is moving because of this slippery. Let me just hold here. This is not moving off this fabric. I can't, I'm not even pressing. It's not coming off of there because of the Grippy. Let me just boom this way. I don't have to worry about it sliding around, so I didn't have to put my fingers up here. And there, I can now go and press, and I have my little half square triangle. Can I tell you something? I just actually learned this yesterday. You all might not know her. I'm going to flip the camera around. You all might not know her, and some of you might know her and love her the way I do. Chris Thurgood of My Girlfriend's Quilt Shop. She is, well, you know her business name, My Girlfriend's Quilt Shop. She is just that. She is everybody's girlfriend, and I just love her to pieces. She is also the twin sister of our beloved Kim Christopherson at Kimberbell. But anyway, she was showing a tip yesterday, and I want to show it to all of you, but this credit goes completely to Chris. She does something called pre-cutting her dog ears. She calls it the Superman cut, I think. But look what she does. So you take your thing, you haven't pressed or anything yet. And she comes in and does boom and boom and cuts those dog ears off. Then she presses open and look. Now I didn't get all of mine off, but so I have a little to trim up. But if you get it quite right, let me just, oops, it helps if I open my, you get it quite right. There we go. And she calls it Superman because when you cut it like that, this kind of, can you tell better this way maybe? Kind of looks like that Superman crest symbol. So I thought that was a cute way to do it. But then when you open it up, yeah, now I got them. No dog ears. You've used your quilt in the day ruler to square up. You're done and ready to go. So I love that idea. I thought it was genius. So thank you to Chris for this idea. Let me put this on this bigger piece of fabric. Again, I'm sliding all over here. I mean, when you're cutting, you're not, because you're holding it in place, but it's sliding because this is slippery. But look, this is not moving. It's not budging. I can't get it to budge. That's how good this Grippy is. So if you hate the idea that your rulers slip around on your fabric, Grippy, you need Grippy. Grippy's your product. It's great. I will tell you this, when I get new rulers and templates, as soon as I take them out of their packaging, the first thing I do is grippitize them. We'll say that. I grippitize them with Grippy. So I have this new one, and it's a centering ruler by So Steady. If you go to their website, sosteady.com, it's their centering ruler. I love this. In fact, I talk about this, I think. I don't know if I talked about it in a different Good Gadgets or if I talked about it in a class, but I'll check. If I haven't, I'll do one on this someday. It's a great product. So this one's fairly new. I haven't used it too much yet, so I haven't grippitized it yet. But as soon as we're done, one coat of Grippy. Now, on the can, it tells you that if you want more grip resistance, I guess you could say, to do more than one coat. And it gives you perfectly easy to follow instructions right here. But I will tell you this. This half square, or this hexie, half hexie, and this quilt in a day ruler, one thin coat, like that was it. And like I said, this one's been on here for months and months. And so I haven't found a need to do more than one coat. But if you feel you need to, it tells you on here exactly how to do that. Now, I know you see me using these Quilter Select rulers all the time. Do I grippitize them? No, because they have that kind of a built-in idea on it. So I don't need it. But there is one type of ruler template that I don't use it on, and that's my magic wands. You know how much I love to use these when I do my half square and quarter square triangles. And the reason I don't, let me flip my camera back over again real quick. The reason I don't is because here's my part of my half square triangle all done. But so I want to line this up on here, and you can see there's a centering mark there for you to get it so that there's a 1/4 inch on this side, a 1/4 inch on this side, and you want to really get that. Sometimes when I lay it down, I'm a little off my mark. And so I want to just easily be able to slide that over to get that squared up onto that mark. And then I'll do my drawing my lines so I can go sew my half square triangle. In that case, I don't want Grippy on here where I can't easily slide this. I don't want to have to pick it up and move it over. So for me, at this point, after using Grippy for a little while now, the only thing I found that I don't use it on is my magic wand. I don't find that it's needed, and I wouldn't find it helpful because I like to do that little slide part. And I know if I put Grippy on there, it ain't going nowhere. So that is today's Good Gadgets. Are these gadgets? Well, they're not. They're tools in a different kind of way. Can you see why I call them kind of stabilization now? Helps you stabilize your quilt when you're basting, helps you truly stabilize your rulers when you're using them to cut. June Tailor Quilt Basting Spray. I know you can find this in the US at Joann's Fabrics. You might be able to find it at a local Quilt or Fabric Shop if they carry June Tailor products. I don't know if they carry it at Hobby Lobby. That's like the other big crafting store in our area. I don't know if they carry it there or not, but you could always check. Odif 505 temporary adhesive. I also know that they carry this at Michael's, I believe. I know they carry it at Joann's as well. I'll be honest, I usually order mine because it's easier to get them online for me where I live, but I know you can get them in those stores. I purchased them there in the past. And then Odif Grippy. I will be honest, the only place I've ever seen Grippy is through a fabric shop. So I bet you could find this wherever this is sold, but I don't quote me on that because honestly, I've only ever bought my Grippy through a fabric shop. Okay, so that you might want to look around a little bit. That's our good gadgets for today. I hope everyone has a great week. Go sew something beautiful, make the world beautiful with your inspired pieces. And we'll see you next week on Good Gadgets.